Trump defies a judge. The 12-minute standoff that shocked legal experts. This morning, inside a federal courtroom, a moment unfolded that pushed the American legal system to its limits. A former president of the United States stood just one sentence away from jail. Not metaphorically, not hypothetically. Literally one sentence away. What happened next is already being described by legal experts as one of the most direct confrontations with judicial authority in modern American history. And it's important to understand exactly how it happened, because every second was documented, recorded, and preserved in real time. A federal judge looked Donald Trump straight in the eye and issued a clear, unmistakable command: sit down or go to jail. Trump did not sit down. What followed was a 12-minute standoff that forced courtroom security to step forward, attorneys to physically intervene, and the entire legal system to pause in collective tension. Over the last several hours, I've reviewed court transcripts, legal commentary, and first-hand accounts from inside that courtroom. I'm going to walk you through exactly what happened, because in this case, the details matter far more than the headlines. The warning signs before court. To understand this moment, you need to understand what led up to it. For weeks, seasoned court observers had noticed subtle warning signs, not in official filings or formal motions, but in patterns of behavior. Trump has always been combative in court. That's nothing new. His behavior usually follows a familiar rhythm. Arrive late to draw media attention. Mutter comments just loud enough to be overheard. Post inflammatory statements during breaks. Exit with defiant sound bites for waiting cameras. That's the script everyone expected. But yesterday, that script collapsed. Analysts tracking Trump's courtroom behavior flagged multiple red alerts. Angry late-night truth social posts, a last-minute reshuffling of his legal team, extra security arriving earlier than scheduled, and, perhaps most telling, complete silence from his attorneys. There's something reporters learn when covering cases like this. When Donald Trump goes quiet before a court appearance, something is about to explode. Early this morning, courthouse security reported unusual tension in the defense staging area. Emergency strategy meetings that hadn't been held in weeks. The kind of frantic, last-minute huddles Trump's team only calls when they're bracing for volatility. A damaging witness, a surprise ruling, or a client about to abandon the script entirely. No one knew which scenario was unfolding, only that Trump's posture had changed. And when a criminal defendant shifts demeanor without warning, experienced judges notice. Judge Arthur Engoron noticed. Inside the courtroom, Trump was seated at the defense table in his trademark navy suit. The prosecution was questioning a key financial witness. Routine testimony, standard procedure. Then it happened. Trump didn't lean over to whisper to his attorney. He didn't pass a note. He spoke out loud, sharp, deliberate, and aimed directly at the witness stand. "That's a complete lie," Trump said. "A total fabrication. Everyone in this room knows it." The courtroom froze. Attorneys stopped taking notes. Spectators froze in place. Camera operators in the overflow room leaned closer to their screens. Judge Engoron slowly removed his glasses. The warning he delivered was not procedural. It was not polite. And it was not negotiable. "Mr. Trump," the judge said, "you will not speak unless you are addressed. You will not interrupt these proceedings. Do you understand?" The moment. Everything changed. Trump did not back down. Within seconds, he leaned back in his chair and said, clearly enough for the court reporter to record, "This whole thing is a joke, a complete joke." Let's be clear about what just happened. A defendant in a federal trial openly ridiculed a sitting judge on the record immediately after receiving a direct judicial warning. Judge Engoron responded with escalating authority. According to transcripts, he issued 3 warnings in 4 minutes. The first followed Trump's outburst. The second came after Trump audibly scoffed and muttered "kangaroo court" while the prosecution spoke. The third came after Trump stood up. "Mr. Trump, sit down immediately," the judge ordered. "Sit down now, or I will have you removed from this courtroom and placed in a detention cell for the remainder of today's proceedings." The word detention hit the room like a shockwave. A federal judge had just informed a former president of the United States that continued defiance would result in immediate confinement. The 12-minute standoff. Trump's lead attorney, Alina Habba, jumped to her feet and requested an emergency sidebar. The judge granted it. For 12 excruciating minutes, attorneys clustered at the bench in urgent, hushed exchanges. Throughout the entire sidebar, Trump remained standing at the defense table, arms folded, jaw clenched, refusing to sit. When the sidebar ended, Habba returned and leaned in close. Observers later said her voice was fast, intense, unmistakably urgent. Trump shook his head. She spoke again, more forcefully. He turned away. Then she placed a firm hand on his shoulder and said something that finally caused him, slowly, reluctantly, to sit down. That moment matters. Trump's own attorneys were forced to physically intervene to prevent him from being escorted to a holding cell in the middle of his own fraud trial. Why this moment matters. Judge Engoron's response wasn't about ego. It wasn't emotional. It was judicial. He cited specific contempt authority. He referenced established incarceration precedent. He issued no hollow warnings. Former federal prosecutors later described Trump's behavior as deliberate provocation, possibly an attempt to trigger a mistrial or create grounds for appeal. But what the judge demonstrated was restraint paired with readiness. This wasn't reactive. It was prepared. Federal judges do not bend to intimidation. They hold lifetime appointments. They wield enforceable authority. And today, Trump encountered something he rarely faces, a boundary that would not move. That warning is now permanently embedded in the court record. Translated into plain language, you are not exempt. You will follow the rules, or you will face consequences. What comes next? This was not an isolated incident. Within a 6-hour window, Trump interrupted sworn testimony, defied direct judicial orders, attacked the judge online during recess, filed motions challenging judicial impartiality, publicly denounced the trial outside the courthouse. That is not coincidence. That is escalation. Legal analysts are now openly considering serious possibilities: intentional provocation, refusal to comply with future orders, or an attempt to manufacture a constitutional crisis. Judge Engoron shut that door. He made one thing unmistakably clear: this courtroom will not be disrupted. This trial will proceed, and defiance will carry consequences, including incarceration. For the first time in this legal saga, Donald Trump appears genuinely uncertain about what comes next. The courtroom held, the judge did not flinch, and the rule of law asserted itself.